Peace, guys and goddesses. It is I'm Imra, the Sun God, coming at you once again for another episode of The Sun God Speaks. And I'm so excited and so honored to have our first interview guest on The Sun God Speaks. And this man right here is my barber. He's my, brother. He's my spiritual guru, confidant, all those things under the sun. Y'all, just please a warm welcome. And I'm super excited to welcome you. It's Derreck Banks of Freshly Faded Barbershop.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
peace,
man. Peace. So, man, our relationship goes back years, like when I was here for grad school, and trying to find a barber and trying to find somebody who, could just not only cut my hair, but also build a relationship with. And we were talking about branding off camera earlier, and it seemed like, your conscious barber brand just started even then. That was my thought of you, like, this guy's aware, he's open, he's spiritual. And basically just kind of give me a little bit of background on yourself, how you started cutting, and then, kind of how this space came about.
Well, I kind of fell into hair cutting. I've always been good with my hands. I've always been good with art. So after high school, I wanted to find a way to express myself through that. My original ideas was maybe plumbing, maybe doing some type of electrical work, but all the apprenticeship programs for that were full already. So what I did was I went downtown to see about electrical school. They told me it was full. Went around the corner to the Barber college, and they said, yeah, we can make it happen. So I started from there, and what I started to notice cutting hair was I have access to so many people, right? And so many people are looking for guidance, or so many people you talk to every single day on a daily basis. And I started to realize, well, I can affect so many lives by the things that I say and the things that I do and the energy that's transferred between us. So from an early age, I made it part of my being to educate myself on things that would help people. Not just to cut your hair and to make your hair look nice and to make you feel better, but also to tell you things and to encourage you on the inside. Because I feel like when people are affected on the inside, it really doesn't matter what the outside looks like. Yeah. You could have a long beard or locks, it doesn't matter. But when you're feeling right on the inside and when you're connected spiritually on the inside, that's what truly matters. Yeah. So maybe the outside, what I'm doing on the outside make you feel that way, but what I'm really doing is working on you on the inside.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And some of that inner work, because obviously if you're ever going to help somebody else, you have to help yourself first, in a sense, or get yourself in that awareness. Exactly. So when did you start studying into spirituality and these kind of principles?
I was first exposed to Kemetic culture and spirituality through Dahan Blevins, and after I got a certain age, he said, well, you know as much as I know. Let me introduce you to other people that know more than me, right? And he would always tell me that when a student is ready, the teacher will appear. And then from there, I encountered some of the Dogon spirituality, which is, Dogons are descendants of people of ancient Kemet. They left with a big canon of knowledge from the ancient, I don't want to say Kemites, but people from Kemet. So from there, around the age of 24, I'm 31 now, maybe even earlier than that, I started studying with them. So then that took me on journeys to, West Africa, traditional journeys, like in the village, in the bush, ceremonies, that type of thing. And what I took from there was what knowledge do our ancestors have that I can apply in my daily life, right? And it boils down to a lot of things, but the main takeaway I got from that is logic and emotions, and trying to stay logical and using my emotions as fuel to drive me in the directions I want to go and not being taken over by my emotions. Right. So yeah, and then having a connection with the ancestors, right? So what that means is if I'm honoring their traditions, right, and I get my children to honor those traditions, then if reincarnation does exist, and it's getting kind of deep for the first 3 minutes. Oh yeah,
that's what that show's about.
But if reincarnation does exist, then it's likely that I'll be reincarnated through my bloodline. So I'll have a favorable existence for eternity if I continue to keep my bloodline strong in the traditions that we have. So it's almost like if we're just going to look on the surface of the physical, if I have life insurance, my child, and I die when my child is 20 years old or something, they'll have a leg up in the world. They'll be able to buy a house or pay for their student loans, and then their children and their children and their children, and thus forth. But what I'm talking about is the spiritual aspect of that, the spiritual side of that. Can I set up generations of people that will be strong spiritually, be strong mentally and spiritually, and be able to handle whatever physical aspect of the world that needs to be handled? That's what I'm talking about.
Dope. No, I like that. I like that. And so just going through those journeys and having those, when did the idea for Freshly Faded come about? And tell me a little bit about the energy that you wanted to create in this space.
So barbering for me was always, it was always a great thing, right? I can control the energy of my chair, but what I started to see is that the energy of the room is affecting me, right? The entire vibration. If we take the sum of the vibration, like, and what I mean by vibration, I'm not meaning anything mystical that can't be quantified. I'm talking about the actual vibration that the lights are putting out, right? Because we know that lights are both a wave and a particle at the same time, right? The vibration that the smell is bringing out, right? So I know that a smell is also a vibration that's going to hit my nose, and we could actually measure that, and the sound, right? And what we're actually feeling, the temperature of the room, right? All of those things collectively create what people call, oh, I like the vibe of this place. Yeah. How our eyes are, what they feel when the light hits them, and what the colors do to you. So what I started to notice was, in my chair I can do so much work, but I started to be affected by the environment around me. Yeah. So if I'm under fluorescent lights rather than natural light and LED, then I'm not feeling my best, right? If I'm not surrounded by plants that are, giving me oxygen and cleaning the air, then I'm not even breathing good air, and I don't feel right. So maybe 5 years ago, I had to find a way to be able to control my environment. And that's when I started formulating the ideas of Freshly Faded and visualizing it, right? Because first we visualize something. And if we're creating an image of God or gods, deities, then if God's main attribute is his ability to create, right? Then humans, if we're on that same divine path, then we should also, in lesser form, be able to create. And I feel like the main thing is first having that idea, and then making that idea, you speak it, and it becomes a vibration, something we can measure. Right. And then from there, it's something that we can write down, we can make a graphic of it on a computer, and then we can manifest it into the physical realm. Right. I think that's so important. And when you hold something in your hand that was just an idea, just a thought, and it's actually in this physical dimension, it's one of the greatest feelings that you can have, and it's one of the greatest opportunities that you have to connect with everything. Right. It's like, wow, I took this idea and I actually made it into a physical reality. So a couple of years ago, I had the idea for this place, and I just needed to take the steps to get there. Right. And that was what the branding and marketing and all that came into play. So I just had to make solid all of the ideas, the intangible ideas. Yeah.
Well, awesome, man. And I mean, it's again, if you haven't been to Freshly Faded in the San Diego area, you definitely have to come check it out. Like you said, the vibe here that you create. We got some exposed brick over here, and just the warm colors, the earth tones here. It's definitely creates a great space to kind of conjure those spirits. I jump into those conversations. Remember the last time I was here, you were having I wouldn't even say a heated discussion, but a discussion with a brother about about the Bible and just a little bit. And a lot of times when I'm here, the spiritual conversation comes up. You know what I mean? So what is the message that you try to get out or just to convey to folks when they come in here to kind of see themselves a little bit broader perspective?
Well, what I want to do is, a lot of the times I question people's, I don't want to say beliefs, but I just question the patterns that people have been exposed to, right? And then I want to know, do you believe that because you think it's true, or do you believe it because it's been repeated so many times, right? Because a lot of the time, people will follow a path blindly because someone in front of them has followed the path without ever investigating fully. So sometimes I might even agree with the person, But I agree because I understand the situation, and some people might have a limited understanding of it. It doesn't mean that I'm any better than them. It's just that I have exposure to more knowledge.
Right.
So I'll ask them a question like, well, what does it mean to be righteous? And then I'll say, well, according to the Bible, is God righteous? And then, you know, like, they have to take a step back and think about it.
Yeah.
You know, like, so...
one of my most powerful moments from that conversation is, you know, you were asking him, you know, what God looks like, you know, and then you brought the mirror over to him and you held it right up in front of his face.
Yeah.
You know, what is that kind? You're talking about being made in the image of God. Like, when you hear that, like, what does that mean for you when you kind of quantify that or meditate?
That's a really, really, really deep question. I would have to use this water bottle. This water bottle wasn't there, but I'm gonna have to use this as an example. I don't necessarily. Okay, so we could say that consciousness, or what we would call God, or what we would call deities, is the ocean, right? And what I call Derek, or what we call Amin Ra, is just the bottle, right? The substance of the bottle, the H2O, the water that's in here, is just a little bit of the ocean inside of this bottle, right? It's just inside of the bottle. It's not really separate from the ocean. It's just inside the bottle. And then when this bottle if this bottle has a hole, or if this bottle no longer can operate, if it melts, if it breaks down, which it does over time, this water, right, will return into the source. So when I say, you are God, and I'm God, and we're all gods, right? And we're all created in that image. That's exactly what I mean. Right. I don't mean it on any, like, you know, any level, like, blasphemous level. I mean that I am literally part of the same ocean that you're a part of. Right? So how can you separate? You're only separating yourself because of this bottle, right? Electricity, when it enters a television, or if it enters, you know, the cameras that we're using right now, we're not saying that this electricity is separate from that electricity. We just call it all electricity. And when it's no longer in there, it returns to the source from which it came. And that's all I'm saying. So when I lifted the mirror up and I said, do you want to see what God looks like? And I showed him the mirror and I was like, there he is. There you are. There we are together. That's what I was saying. Awesome. So I feel like a lot of times people will limit the things that they can do and the things that they can accomplish because they're giving their power to an outside source, right? If you knew that if God created this whole earth, this whole universe according to what you believe, and you're created in that same image, then why do you feel like you have to pray to God instead of taking actions to do the things that you know need to be done in order for you to fulfill what you're trying to do? You know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm not going to put in the work. I'm just going to pray and God's going to provide. No, that's not. Nothing's going to happen. You might as well pray to a gallon of milk, right? You put in the work. If you feel like that prayer is going to help you, okay, the prayer will help you. But if you actually put in the work, then the universe is going to respond accordingly. God is going to respond accordingly, right? And then those things are going to start to happen. Doors are going to start to open. But if you don't put in the work, nothing's going to happen.
So much more than a barber, so much more than a barbershop here at Freshly Faded. And I wanted to close on one of the lasting moments and memories that I have of you. I was getting ready to move back to North Carolina, I believe, and you blessed me in the chair in a comedic prayer. And I was wondering if you could leave us with that prayer today, just to kind of send everybody else out on their way and to kind of empower them in a sense.
Yeah, definitely. This is the first prayer that a deity gave to humanity. It's spoken in the oldest language known to man, which is the Medu, which basically means language, but it's Medu Neter, which is language of the gods. Neter is how we say God. Neteru is how we say more than one. That's where the word nature comes from. Nature, so anyway, here it is. It's Nuk heka'u pui abemrei hati. Ra neteru heri wati emrei. Nuk ra'ia'u nuk bafe heka'u.
I just felt that all up in my soul. Oh my God. It's the same. It's the same feeling every time.
And it's very interesting because if this is the first prayer given to humanity, right, from a deity, and like we were saying, the spirit might have residual information from other incarnations. then it might sound familiar, right? The language might sound familiar. The symbols might feel familiar when you encounter them. So when you see certain things, you're like, why do I have this familiar aspect? Why does it just sound like it's me? It's because it is.
Yeah.
And a part of you experienced it previously.
Yeah.
It's interesting stuff. But thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Yeah,
Absolutely, man. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks.
My gosh. Thank you to all of you for tuning in and watching again. If any topic touched you or you want to continue the conversation, definitely comment below, like, share, subscribe, and just we got to get this message out. I wanted to do this because I do this every week, and it's always great to have other spirits and individuals come share their stories and share their knowledge, so you can see that it's so much bigger than just me. We're all going through this journey, we're all here together. And so again, thank you so much for being a part of this tribe and being a part of this moment. So we'll see you next week. I'm in Ra. I love y'all. Peace.